So somebody has left me a message saying JK Rowling is a hero. Well, this is the new Miles Scopeland, the new Miles Copeland. Right, there we are. Well, she was a hero. I'm less certain now. I think there are principles here of debt ownership and spite that dog JK Rowling's vicious attack on Emma Watson. The real problem is what to do when writer's block stops creation, and nastiness is, I think, not the best response. For Philip Pullman, it became an obsession with the Oxford comma, and for JK Rowling, it seems to be about attacking the people who helped to make her monumentally famous and mega rich, and I hope she wriggles out of this writer's block. But it leaves a nastier impression than that created by Philip Pullman. And it's nice, of course, that Philip Pullman's book is out at the end of the month. I'm looking forward to it. I will be more wary of anything J.K. Rowling writes, whether it's derivative of Ursula K. Le Guin or not. What sits beneath the Rowling-Watson quarrel is not only a culture war, but also a sad unspooling of a once-beloved franchise family, and a faulty theory of debt. Too many voices talk as if Emma Watson must carry a life debt to the author who created Hermione, and that any dissent violates a permanent duty of loyalty. And that view is contractually illiterate and morally unhealthy. Watson, a child of the time, signed to act and to promote the film. She did the work, she did it superbly, and she was paid. And when the cameras stopped and the press tours ended, the ledger closed. Gratitude might continue, obligation certainly does not. And casting, as somebody said, I was listening to such a brilliant analysis of this. Casting is not charity. Producers scoured the country, cast Watson because she was a sort of child who looked like the Hermione that J.K. Rowling had pictured, and so she would help the film succeed. And the choice accelerated the value of the entire enterprise. Rowling benefited from the right casting, just as the actors benefited from Rowling's stories. The franchise multiplied value across writers, directors, designers, marketeers, performers. And it was symbiosis, not vassalage. And to claim that an actor must forever align with an author's politics because she once played a role is to confuse appreciation with ownership. Translate the claim into ordinary life and it withers completely, doesn't it? No one gives their first boss a veto over every option for the rest of time. And this is why the public scolding of Watson's alleged insulation from real life lands so poorly. It is not an argument. It's a status sneer. Moral seriousness doesn't require a means test at the swimming pool. People with different biographies can still argue policy in good faith. And to reduce a disagreement to the other person's biography is usually a confession that the ideas that you've got in the first place are not strong enough on their own. And much of the online fury reveals a second confusion: parasocial bookkeeping. Fans import their own emotional accounts and then insist the actors must reflect the author's view. That's not loyalty, it's control. It's the parent who says, I fed you, therefore you owe me your silence. We reject that logic in civic life, we should reject it in culture. And there's also a creative question. When a writer spends more energy on public denunciation than on invention, readers notice. Philip Pullman's fussy obsession with the Oxford comma, which I called out in the Daily Telegraph, was a pompous tic, sometimes amusing, largely victimless. Rowling's fixation on former collaborators is different. It's personal, punitive, and diminishing. If there is a season of creative writer here, the only honest exit is the spring of a finished book. Nastiness is not a cure for blockage. If she's got such extreme blockage, maybe she needs some sort of creative exolax or ducalax or something. Turning private resentment into public spectacle may feel like momentum, but it's not art, and it's not wise, and it's not nice. And the wider industry is behaving as free agents do. Tom Felton happily fronts theatre events and expresses uncomplicated gratitude for the world that made his career. Matthew Lewis says any future collaboration would depend on the project and his conscience. Boy George piles on the side of Watson with typical flamboyance, that pluralism is normal. It's the market and the public square doing their work. No one owes anyone a line forever. And Watson's recent remark aimed, perhaps naively, at cooling the temperature. She treasures the past, I'm sure. She would never cancel Rowling. She would always be open to conversation. You may feel that is sentimental, but it's also an attempt at civic hygiene, which Rowling hasn't embraced. The reply she received from Rowling was sweeping personal scolding, complete with digs about bathrooms and privilege. Brutal and, frankly, snobbish. Rowling's reply widened the rift and proved the core charge that spite has displaced art, that nastiness has obliterated talent. And again, as I say, I'm not on a roller coaster here, listing the various influences that are fairly evident, I think, in Rowling's work. Ursula K. Le Guin particularly at the forefront. If you read A Wizard of Earthsea and then you read Harry Potter, the influence is glaring. But a better ethic is available. Gratitude says, thank you for the chance, the collaboration, the adventure. It doesn't say, therefore I adopt your politics, absorb your enemies, surrender my voice. Adults can hold multiple truths at once. One can be grateful to Rowling for the books, grateful to Watson for the work, and still say that coercive expectations of lifelong ideological obedience are a category error. Readers, for their part, will now test any new Rowling work with colder eyes, I think, including the long-running anxiety about echoes of other authors, other books, other stories in other genres. I came across a very interesting bande dessinée about the imaginary college, which seemed suspiciously Hogwarts-like. Well, all that scepticism is earned. The surest way to dispel it is not another thread, but a story that compels on the page, which is why the issue of Philip Pullman matters. It's good news that his next book is due at the month's end. That work might speak louder than the Quarrels. That work might salvage his reputation after this lackluster second book in his current trilogy. So we should retire the myth of this eternal debt. Contracts ended, checks cleared, what remains is character. If Rowling is indeed wrestling with drought, I wish her the courage to choose the quiet work that lasts. If she dislikes what Watson says, she is free to argue the point without belittling the person. And if the chorus insists that opportunity purchases lifelong silence, the answer is simple and adult: no. Gratitude is a virtue, not some sort of imprisonment.